Want to upgrade your English without memorizing boring vocabulary lists? Let today's story take you to Cairo, where every sentence teaches you real language without effort. You'll learn English the way it's actually spoken, just by following one bold decision and a wild ride through the city. So hit subscribe, like the video, and share this with a friend who believes adventure is the best teacher. Mira stood just outside her hotel in central Cairo. The sky was hazy, the air thick with sound, car horns, shouts, calls to prayer, and the distant hum of the Nile. Her phone had a map. It showed clear directions to the museum. There were modern ride apps. She could have ordered a quiet, air-conditioned car in less than a minute. But not today. Today she had made a different kind of decision. She was going to get around Cairo using only the old black and white taxis. The ones people said were disappearing. The ones with windows that didn't always close, seats that had seen decades of passengers, and drivers who followed no rules except their own. Mira walked to the corner and raised her hand. It didn't take long. A boxy car pulled up, its paint scratched, its mirrors uneven. A thin man in sunglasses leaned out the window. He said nothing, just looked at her and raised his chin. She got in. She didn't speak Arabic. He didn't speak English. But when she showed him the word museum on her paper map, he nodded once and hit the gas like he was escaping something. The ride was loud. The car shook. But Mira loved it. They passed wide streets full of shops and narrow alleys packed with people and fruit stands. At one point, a goat ran across the road and the driver barely slowed down. She held onto the side handle as the taxi squeezed between two buses, both of which were also honking non-stop. So they made it. The driver parked half on the sidewalk, turned to her and smiled. Mira paid him in cash and added a few extra pounds. He waved as she stepped out. That was just the beginning. Later that day she wanted to go to the Khan el-Khalili bazaar. She ignored the modern taxis again. She wanted another ride in one of those old machines. The second driver was older. He had a white mustache and played loud music from a cassette. The seat belt didn't work, but he offered her a mint from the dashboard. She took it and smiled. This time she didn't even bother showing the map. He just said the name slowly. Bazaar. He grinned and nodded. The ride took longer. Traffic was thick. Cars stopped in places that made no sense. At one point they didn't move for 10 full minutes. But it didn't matter. The driver pointed out landmarks. He said names of buildings in Arabic. Mira repeated some of them. He laughed and gave her a thumbs up. At the bazaar she spent over an hour walking through the maze of shops. Spices, lamps, jewelry, perfumes, and everywhere people calling out in several languages. She bought a small bottle of jasmine oil, then stepped back into the sun and looked around. Another taxi. This one with a blue sticker on the hood and a door that didn't close easily. She got in. Tower, she said. The man looked at her through the mirror, raised an eyebrow and said something she didn't understand. But then he shrugged and drove. The Cairo Tower wasn't far, but the streets twisted and split. At one point, they turned into a neighborhood where children ran behind the car shouting something cheerful. The driver waved at them and Mira waved too. The car stopped near a small tea shop. Not the tower. But the driver pointed ahead, gestured with both hands like a tour guide, and then pointed to her shoes. Mira understood she had to walk the last part. She gave him the money, thanked him in English, and started walking toward the tower. By the time the sun was low, she had taken 4 more rides. Each one a little different. One driver spoke some French and tried to guess her nationality. Another played quiet music and had a tiny stuffed animal hanging from his mirror. One had no radio at all but kept tapping the wheel with his fingers like the rhythm was inside him. Each taxi had its own smell, its own sound, its own way of moving. And through all of it, Mira noticed something unexpected. By the fifth ride, she had started using gestures and single Arabic words she had picked up. Shukran for thank you. Yamin for right. Garib for strange. She had learned more Arabic in one afternoon than in a week of classes. She also began using better English, speaking slowly and clearly, describing places, explaining her plan to strangers. It didn't come from a textbook. It came from the need to connect, even without perfect words. When the day ended, Mira sat on the hotel rooftop with a cold drink and her small notebook. She opened it and wrote, "I rode 7 taxis today. None of them were new. None were easy. But all of them moved me. And now I speak more, in every language I know." She looked at the road below. Another old taxi passed, its headlights dim and one door tied shut with rope. And she smiled. That's the secret to powerful learning. You don't force it. You let it happen naturally while your mind is focused on something exciting. Through Myra's wild ride across Cairo, you've picked up expressions for movement, discovery, and experience, the way people actually talk. So tell me in the comments, what's the most unusual ride you've ever taken? And don't forget, subscribe for more stories that teach without trying. Like this if you believe old taxis have better stories. And share it with someone who's not afraid to take the bumpy road.